I would say that that was probably the most difficult of the 4 tours that I had in England. We got out of it in the end with an honourable draw, but we were not a tremendously powerful side.
Australia had only 2 reliable bowlers, McCormick and the great Bill O'Reilly. England, with the newcomers Edrich, Compton and Len Hutton, had a very strong batting side. They made 658 in the first innings of the first test. Australia had no option but to try to hold on for a draw.
Wright bowling his fast leg breaks gives England an early success, but there's Bradman to reckon with, and Don goes all out to put runs on the board. He puts 50 to his own name.
The feature of the game, from Australia's point of view, was Stan McCabe's brilliant double century.
That's Stan McCabe. It was the greatest innings that I ever saw anyone play, and I don't think it would be possible for anybody to play better than Stan played that particular innings. At one stage I was up in the Australian dressing room, and I called out to some of the boys who were in the back of the room to come and have a look at it, because I said, you'll never see anything like this again. He and Fleetwood Smith put on 77 runs for the last wicket in, I think it was 25 minutes. And the Englishman had 5 men on the boundary all that time and were trying to deprive him of the strike.
In Australia's second innings, Bradman made a patient 144. He was concentrating on defence, but watch his footwork.
There was no earthly chance of us winning the match, and when we came to bat in the second innings, I said to the boys, now, we can't possibly let Stan McCabe down. We can't win this match, but we have got to save it. And so we did. Fortunately, we made a draw out of it.
During the second test, played at Lord's, the Australian players were presented to King George VI. This game was drawn too, and the third test was washed out without a ball being bowled. Australia won by 5 wickets at Leeds and were one up with only 1 test to play. In the final test, at the Oval, England won the toss and batted first.
Of all the records broken in this test, one excites the Oval crowd most, the beating of Bradman's highest ever test score. Here's the historic stroke that does it. Bradman is first to congratulate Hutton. Bradman, trying everything, puts himself on to bowl.
To give a little bit of relief to our bowlers, I decided to bowl a few overs myself. Because the ground was soft, big holes had been dug where the bowlers' feet had been landing.
Then, as if Australia weren't in trouble already, Bradman has to be carried off the field by White and Fleetwood Smith. Bradman out of the test and Fingleton, and that's England's total.
I put my foot on the edge of one of these holes and went over on my ankle and chipped a bone in the ankle and had to go off, and I didn't play again on the whole tour.
He was 30 years old. It would be 8 years before he played in another test match. He had a successful Sheffield Shield season, including 6 centuries in a row in 1938-39, but by the time he resumed after the Second World War, his best years as a batsman were behind him. There's no simple secret to a success like Don Bradman's. Hours and hours of practice are one essential, but success comes from a combination of all the skills. He thought and moved very quickly. His coordination was superb. His judgment of what he could do was almost perfect. He made a huge number of runs with the pull shot. It's not the most attractive shot in cricket, but it's one of the most effective when it's well played. Bradman perfected it. If the ball was short, most of the time it was bang, 4 runs. But he had all the other shots too, and when people who know cricket see film of him, the shots that make them sigh with envy are the deflections, the leg glances and the late cuts. Above all, perhaps, and this is what the people who played with him say about him, He had a supreme confidence in his